The galactic distress call, in the vast expanse of the Milky Way, where countless civilizations had risen and fallen over millennia, an unprecedented crisis was unfolding. The Zalorian Empire, once a beacon of advanced technology and cultural enlightenment, found itself on the brink of extinction. Their home world, Xylora Prime, was facing an imminent collision with a rogue planet that had unexpectedly entered their star system. Zalora, the young empress of the Zalorians, stood before the Galactic Council, her iridescent scales shimmering under the harsh light of the chamber. Her voice, usually melodious and calm, now trembled with urgency as she addressed the assembled representatives of the most powerful species in the known universe. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, Zalora began, her four arms gesticulating in their species' traditional manner of respect. I come before you today not as an empress, but as a desperate voice for my people. Our world faces annihilation, and we lack the means to save ourselves. We implore you, our galactic neighbors, for aid in this dark hour. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien languages as the council members discussed among themselves. The Ardorians, a race of crystalline beings, vibrated in frequencies that conveyed their sympathy but inability to assist. The Volux, gaseous entities contained in ornate suits, pulsed red and orange, indicating their reluctance to involve themselves in what they perceived as a localized problem. As the debate raged on, Grand Arbiter 6, a member of the ancient and revered Kurulian species, raised all 12 of his appendages, calling for silence. His booming voice echoed through the chamber as he addressed the council. We have heard the plea of the Zalorians, 6 intoned, his compound eyes reflecting the myriad of bioluminescent lights that adorned the chamber. While their plight is indeed dire, we must consider the implications of intervention. The Zalorian Empire, though once great, has fallen behind in technological advancement. Their rescue would require resources beyond what most of us can spare, and the risk of cultural contamination is high. Zalora's heart sank as she listened to the Grand Arbiter's words. She had feared this response, but hearing it spoken aloud made the reality of her people's situation all the more crushing. But surely, she pleaded, there must be someone among us who can help. We are not asking for charity, but for a chance to survive, to continue our contributions to the galactic community. The Mavorian representative, a being composed entirely of swirling energy, flickered brightly as it spoke. Perhaps, it suggested, its thoughts translating directly into the minds of those present, we should consider reaching out to the younger races. There are species on the fringes of our galactic society who might have the resources and the will to assist. A murmur of surprise rippled through the chamber. It was rare for the Galactic Council to even acknowledge the existence of less advanced civilizations, let alone consider them for such a monumental task. Grand Arbiter 6 pondered this suggestion, his exoskeleton creaking as he shifted his massive form. An intriguing proposal, he admitted. But which of these young races could possibly possess the capability and the moral fortitude to undertake such a mission? It was then that Lyrax, the Kurulian chief historian, stepped forward. His voice was soft but carried weight as he spoke. There is one species, newly discovered and not yet officially recognized by this council, that has shown remarkable progress and an unusual predisposition for altruism. They call themselves humans. The chamber erupted once again, this time in disbelief and skepticism. Humans were known to most of the council members only through scattered reports and unauthorized observations. They were considered primitive, volatile, and unpredictable. Humans, scoffed the Volux representative, its gaseous form swirling agitatedly. Those warmongering primates who have barely mastered interplanetary travel. Surely you jest, historian Lyrax. Lyrax remained unperturbed by the outburst. I assure you, I do not. While it is true that humans are young in cosmic terms, they have shown an astonishing rate of technological advancement. More importantly, they possess a unique quality that sets them apart from many species we have encountered, an innate desire to help others, even at great cost to themselves. Laura, who had been listening intently, felt a glimmer of hope spark within her. "Tell me more about these humans," she requested, her voice filled with desperate curiosity. Lyrax activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber, showing images of Earth and its inhabitants. Humans hail from a planet they call Earth, third from their star in a system they've named Sol. They are a diverse species, adaptable and resilient. Despite their short lifespans, they have made remarkable strides in science, art, and philosophy. The display shifted, showing scenes of human achievements and moments of heroism. "What truly sets them apart," Lyrax continued, "is their capacity for empathy and their drive to overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. They have a saying, 'Where there's a will, there's a way.' This ethos has driven them to achieve feats that, by all logical assessments, should have been beyond their capabilities." Grand Arbiter Psyx leaned forward, his interest piqued. "And you believe these humans would be willing to aid the Zalorians? What could they possibly gain from such an endeavor?" Lyrax's mandibles clicked in what passed for a smile among his kind. "That, esteemed Arbiter, is precisely what makes humans unique. They often act not for gain, but simply because they believe it is the right thing to do." The council chamber fell into contemplative silence as the members digested this information. Laura, feeling a renewed sense of hope, stepped forward once more. "Honorable members of the council," she said, her voice steady and determined, "if there is even a chance that these humans could help us, I implore you to allow us to contact them. My people stand on the precipice of oblivion. We have nothing to lose and everything to gain." Grand Arbiter Psyx considered her words carefully before responding. "This is an unprecedented situation, and it calls for unprecedented measures. Empress Laura, you have the Council's permission to seek aid from the humans. However, you must understand that this decision comes with great risk. The humans are an unproven quantity, and their involvement could have far-reaching consequences for the balance of power in our galaxy." Laura bowed deeply, her gratitude evident in every movement. "I understand and accept these risks, Grand Arbiter. On behalf of my people, I thank you for this opportunity." As the council session adjourned, Laura found herself approached by Lyrax. The Kuhulian historian regarded her with what she interpreted as a mix of concern and encouragement. "Empress," Lyrax said softly, "I wish you success in your mission. But I must warn you, humans are as complex as they are capable. They can be both noble and selfish, brilliant and foolish, often in the same moment. Approach them with caution, but also with an open mind. You may find that they will surprise you in ways you cannot yet imagine." Laura nodded, absorbing the historian's words. As she prepared to leave the council chamber, her mind raced with possibilities. The fate of her entire civilization now rested on the shoulders of a species she had never encountered, one that the galaxy's most advanced races regarded with a mixture of curiosity and trepidation. As her ship prepared for the journey to the Sol system, Laura gazed out at the stars, wondering what awaited her. Would these humans be the saviors her people desperately needed, or would this be a fool's errand that would seal the Zalorians' fate? Little did she know that her distress call was about to set in motion a series of events that would not only determine the future of the Zalorian Empire, but would forever change the course of galactic history. The age of humanity was about to dawn, and the universe would never be the same. Lyrax remained unperturbed by the outburst. "I assure you, I do not. While it is true that humans are young in cosmic terms, they have shown an astonishing rate of technological advancement. More importantly, they possess a unique quality that sets them apart from many species we have encountered, an innate desire to help others, even at great cost to themselves." Laura, who had been listening intently, felt a glimmer of hope spark within her. "Tell me more about these humans," she requested, her voice filled with desperate curiosity. Lyrax activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber, showing images of Earth and its inhabitants. Humans hail from a planet they call Earth, third from their star in a system they've named Sol. They are a diverse species, adaptable and resilient. Despite their short lifespans, they have made remarkable strides in science, art, and philosophy. The display shifted, showing scenes of human achievements and moments of heroism. What truly sets them apart, Lurax continued, is their capacity for empathy and their drive to overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. They have a saying, "Where there's a will, there's a way." This ethos has driven them to achieve feats that, by all logical assessments, should have been beyond their capabilities. Grand Arbiter 6 leaned forward, his interest piqued. "And you believe these humans would be willing to aid the Zalorians? What could they possibly gain from such an endeavor?" Lurax's mandibles clicked in what passed for a smile among his kind. That, esteemed arbiter, is precisely what makes humans unique. They often act not for gain, but simply because they believe it is the right thing to do. The council chamber fell into contemplative silence as the members digested this information. Zalora, feeling a renewed sense of hope, stepped forward once more. "Honorable members of the council," she said, her voice steady and determined, "if there is even a chance that these humans could help us, I implore you to allow us to contact them. My people stand on the precipice of oblivion. We have nothing to lose and everything to gain." Grand Arbiter 6 considered her words carefully before responding. "This is an unprecedented situation, and it calls for unprecedented measures. Empress Zalora, you have the Council's permission to seek aid from the humans. However, you must understand that this decision comes with great risk. The humans are an unproven quantity, and their involvement could have far-reaching consequences for the balance of power in our galaxy." Zalora bowed deeply, her gratitude evident in every movement. "I understand and accept these risks, Grand Arbiter. On behalf of my people, I thank you for this opportunity." As the council session adjourned, Zalora found herself approached by Lurax. The Kurulian historian regarded her with what she interpreted as a mix of concern and encouragement. "Empress," Lurax said softly, "I wish you success in your mission. But I must warn you, humans are as complex as they are capable. They can be both noble and selfish, brilliant and foolish, often in the same moment. Approach them with caution, but also with an open mind. You may find that they will surprise you in ways you cannot yet imagine." Zalora nodded, absorbing the historian's words. As she prepared to leave the council chamber, her mind raced with possibilities. The fate of her entire civilization now rested on the shoulders of a species she had never encountered, one that the galaxy's most advanced races regarded with a mixture of curiosity and trepidation. As her ship prepared for the journey to the Sol system, Zalora gazed out at the stars, wondering what awaited her. Would these humans be the saviors her people desperately needed, or would this be a fool's errand that would seal the Zalorians' fate? Little did she know that her distress call was about to set in motion a series of events that would not only determine the future of the Zalorian Empire, but would forever change the course of galactic history. The age of humanity was about to dawn, and the universe would never be the same. Humanity's unexpected response. As Zalora's sleek spacecraft entered the Sol system, the Zalorian Empress couldn't help but feel a mix of anticipation and trepidation. The journey had been long, even with their advanced propulsion technology, and every moment brought her people closer to their impending doom. As they approached Earth, Zalora marveled at the blue and green orb, so different from the crystalline landscapes of Silora Prime. "Empress," her chief science officer, Vexer, called out, "we're detecting numerous artificial satellites and space stations orbiting the planet. Their technology appears primitive by our standards, but surprisingly functional." Zalora nodded, her iridescent scales shimmering in the dim light of the bridge. "Proceed with caution, Vexer. Remember historian Lurax's words. These humans are unpredictable. We must approach them carefully." As they drew closer to Earth, their sensors picked up a transmission. A gruff human voice crackled through their communication systems. "Unidentified spacecraft, this is United Earth Defense. You have entered restricted airspace. Identify yourself and state your purpose immediately." Zalora took a deep breath, composing herself before responding. "Greetings, people of Earth. I am Empress Zalora of the Zalorian Empire. We come in peace, seeking aid for our dying world." There was a long pause, filled only by the soft hum of the ship's systems. Finally, the voice returned, noticeably shaken. "Ah, please stand by." In the heart of the United Earth Defense Headquarters, General Sarah Chen stared at her communication panel in disbelief. First contact with an alien civilization, and they were asking for help. She quickly assembled an emergency meeting with world leaders and top scientists. Dr. Aiden Rodriguez, the lead xenobiologist, was the first to speak once they gathered. "This is unprecedented. We've dreamed of this moment for centuries, but never imagined it would happen like this." President Amara Okafor of the United Earth Government leaned forward, her eyes sharp and focused. "What do we know about these Zylorians?" "Nothing concrete," General Chen admitted. "Our long-range scans show their ship is far more advanced than anything we possess. If they wanted to attack, they could have done so already." President Okafor nodded slowly, processing the information. "And they're asking for our help. Us, a species that hasn't even colonized our own moon yet." Dr. Elena Volkov, the chief of Earth's fledgling interplanetary exploration program, cleared her throat. "Madam President, with all due respect, this could be the opportunity of a lifetime. Think of what we could learn, what we could achieve." The room erupted into heated debate. Some argued for caution, others for immediate action. As the discussion raged on, a young lieutenant burst into the room, his face pale. "Madam President, General, we're receiving a distress signal from the alien ship. They're saying their life support systems are failing." The room fell silent. President Okafor stood, her decision made. "General Chen, prepare a rescue operation immediately." Dr. Rodriguez, assemble a first contact team. "We're not going to let them die on our doorstep." As the Earth's leaders sprang into action, Zalora's ship drifted helplessly in orbit. The strain of the long journey had taken its toll, and critical systems were shutting down one by one. Vexo worked frantically at his console, trying to reroute power. "Empress," he said, his voice strained, "I don't understand. Our technology should be far superior to anything in this system. How could this happen?" Zalora placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "The journey was long and perilous, Vexa. We pushed our systems to their limits. Now, we must trust in the kindness of these humans." As if in answer to her words, a crackling transmission came through their failing communications system. "Zalorian vessel, this is Captain Maya Patel of the UES Horizon. We're approaching your position to render assistance. Please stand by." Zalora watched in awe as a comparatively small human spacecraft maneuvered alongside them. Despite its apparent simplicity, the ship moved with precision and purpose. A docking tube extended from the horizon, connecting with their airlock. Captain Patel, clad in a sleek spacesuit, was the first to board. She removed her helmet, revealing a face etched with determination and curiosity. "Empress Zalora, I'm Captain Patel. We're here to help." Zalora bowed slightly, her forearms moving in a gesture of gratitude. "Captain, we are in your debt. Our ship is in rough shape," Patel finished, glancing around at the failing systems. "Don't worry, we'll get you sorted out. But first, we need to get you and your crew to safety." As human engineers and medical staff boarded the Zalorian ship, Zalora marveled at their efficiency and adaptability. Despite the vast differences in technology and biology, the humans worked tirelessly to stabilize the critical systems and tend to the Zalorian crew. Dr. Rodriguez, leading the medical team, approached Zalora with a mix of professional concern and barely contained excitement. "Empress, we've prepared quarters for you and your people aboard the Horizon. We'll need to run some tests to ensure there are no biological incompatibilities, but I assure you, you're in good hands." As Zalora and her crew were carefully transferred to the Horizon, she couldn't help but feel a sense of hope. These humans, so different and yet so familiar, had not hesitated to come to their aid. Perhaps historian Lyrax was right about their unique qualities. Aboard the Horizon, Zalora was escorted to a hastily prepared conference room. President Okafor's face appeared on a large screen, her expression a mix of wonder and concern. Empress Zalora, on behalf of humanity, I welcome you to Earth. We understand you're in need of assistance. Please, tell us how we can help. Zalora took a deep breath, acutely aware of the weight of this moment. President Okafor, people of Earth, I come to you in our darkest hour. Our homeworld, Xylora Prime, faces imminent destruction from a rogue planet on a collision course. We lack the means to divert this catastrophe, and our people face extinction. We humbly ask for your aid, your ingenuity, and your compassion. As Zalora explained the details of their plight, she saw a range of emotions play across the faces of the humans present: shock, sympathy, and then determination. Operation Cosmic Rescue. The following weeks saw an unprecedented mobilization of Earth's resources and intellect. The impending destruction of Xylora Prime had united humanity in a way nothing else ever had. Scientists, engineers, and strategists from every nation worked tirelessly alongside their Zalorian counterparts, racing against time to formulate a plan to save an alien world. At the heart of this whirlwind of activity was Dr. Samara Patel, a brilliant astrophysicist whose unconventional theories had often been dismissed by her peers. Now, as she stood before a holographic display of the Zalorian solar system, her ideas were at the center of humanity's most ambitious project yet. The problem, Samara explained to the assembled team of human and Zylorian experts, isn't just the rogue planet's trajectory. It's the gravitational cascade effect it's creating throughout the entire system. We need to think bigger than simply trying to deflect it. Vexer, the Zalorian science officer, chittered in agreement. Dr. Patel is correct. Our simulations show that even if we could alter the rogue planet's course, the gravitational disturbances it's already caused could still destabilize Xylora Prime's orbit. General Chen, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward. So what are you proposing, Doctor? Samara took a deep breath, knowing her next words would sound insane, even in this extraordinary situation. We need to move Xylora Prime. The room erupted in a cacophony of human voices and alien clicks and whistles. Empress Zalora, who had been silently watching the proceedings, raised all four of her arms, calling for silence. Please, he said, her voice calm but tinged with desperation, let us hear Dr. Patel's plan. Samara nodded gratefully to the Empress before continuing. Using a combination of Zalorian gravity manipulation technology and our own theoretical work on space-time manipulation, we can create a series of controlled artificial wormholes. These will allow us to essentially hop Xylora Prime to a stable orbit in a neighboring star system. The silence that followed was deafening. It was Vexer who broke it, his scales shimmering with excitement. It's audacious, insane even, but the theoretical framework is sound. With our combined knowledge, it might just be possible. Dr. Elena Volkov, who had been furiously scribbling notes, looked up. The energy requirements would be astronomical. We'd need to harness the power of a star to generate enough energy for even one hop, let alone a series of them. Exactly, Samara replied, her eyes gleaming. That's where the Zalorian sun comes in. We'll use it as our power source. As the implications of this plan sank in, the room buzzed with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. President Okafor, who had been listening via secure link, spoke up. Dr. Patel, are you certain this is our best option? The risks are enormous, Samara finished. But so is the alternative. This is our best chance to save billions of lives and preserve an entire civilization. Empress Zalora stepped forward, her iridescent scales glowing softly in the dim light. My people are prepared to face any risk if it means saving our world. We place our trust in you, Dr. Patel, and in the ingenuity of humanity. With the decision made, Operation Cosmic Rescue shifted into high gear. The next months were a blur of feverish activity. Earth's industrial capacity was pushed to its limits, manufacturing components for the massive generators that would create the wormholes. Silurian scientists worked alongside human engineers, merging their advanced theoretical knowledge with humanity's practical problem-solving skills. In orbit around Earth, a joint human-Silurian space station was hastily constructed to serve as the mission control for the operation. It was here that Samara found herself, staring out at the blue marble of Earth, on the eve of the most daring mission in the history of both their species. Nervous, a voice asked behind her. Samara turned to see Captain Maya Patel, the officer who had first made contact with the Silurians. Samara managed a weak smile. Terrified. We're about to attempt something that's never been done before, not even by the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. If we fail... Maya placed a reassuring hand on Samara's shoulder. Then we'll have given everything we have trying to save lives. That's what humanity does best. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent call from the command center. Dr. Patel, Captain, you're needed immediately. We've detected a problem with the Silurian sun. Racing to the control room, they found a scene of controlled chaos. Holographic displays showed the Silurian star pulsing erratically, its corona flaring in ways that defied all predictions. Vexor, his exoskeleton clicking nervously, turned to them as they entered. The gravitational influence of the rogue planet is affecting the star more severely than we anticipated. If we don't act soon, we may lose our power source. Samara's mind raced, calculating and recalculating. We need to move up the timeline. Prepare for the first wormhole generation now. But the evacuation of the planet isn't complete, Maya protested. There are still millions of Silurians in the danger zone. Empress Silura, who had insisted on being present for this crucial moment, spoke up. We have no choice. My people knew the risks. Those who remain will face their fate with courage. The weight of this decision hung heavy in the air as final preparations were made. Across the vast distance of space, enormous generators powered up around Silura Prime. On Earth, billions watched with bated breath as humanity attempted the impossible. Samara took her place at the main control console, her hands hovering over the activation sequence. She looked around at the diverse team of humans and Silurians, all united in this moment of crisis. Whatever happens, she said, her voice steady, it has been an honor to work with all of you. For Silura Prime, for Earth, for the future of both our species, let's make history. With a decisive motion, Samara initiated the sequence. Energy levels spiked to unimaginable levels as the generators harnessed the power of the Silurian sun. Space itself seemed to warp and twist as the first artificial wormhole flickered into existence. Silura Prime, a world of crystalline beauty home to billions, began to move. Slowly at first, then with gathering speed, the planet approached the shimmering portal. As it passed through, shears erupted in the control room and across Earth. But their celebration was premature. As Silura Prime emerged on the other side of the wormhole, alarms blared. Gravitational shear is higher than expected, Vexor reported, his voice tense. The planet's crust is beginning to fracture. Samara's fingers flew over the controls, making split-second adjustments. Rerouting power to the planetary shields. We need to stabilize the core before the next jump. As they fought to keep Silura Prime intact, the rogue planet loomed ever closer in the Silurian home system. The star's erratic behavior worsened, threatening to destabilize their entire plan. In this moment of crisis, with two worlds hanging in the balance, the combined ingenuity of humanity and Silurians was put to the ultimate test. The fate of billions rested on their ability to overcome the impossible, to rewrite the very laws of physics in a desperate bid for survival. As Samara prepared for the next crucial wormhole jump, she knew that the next few hours would determine not just the future of Silura Prime, but the place of humanity in the wider galaxy. The greatest challenge in human history was unfolding, and failure was not an option. Clash of cultures, unity of purpose. As Silora Prime teetered on the brink of destruction, the control room of the joint human-Zalorian space station became a crucible of innovation and desperation. Dr. Samira Patel's fingers danced across holographic interfaces, making micro-adjustments to the planet's trajectory as it prepared for its second wormhole jump. Gravitational shear is still critical, Vexer reported, his exoskeleton vibrating with tension. We're losing integrity in the southern hemisphere. Captain Maya Patel, who had taken charge of coordinating the evacuation efforts, chimed in urgently. We've got reports of massive seismic activity across the planet. Millions are still in danger zones. Empress Silora, her scales dulled with stress, made a decision that would haunt her for years to come. We cannot wait any longer. We must make the jump now, or risk losing everything. Samara nodded grimly, initiating the sequence for the second wormhole. As energy levels began to spike, alarms blared throughout the station. A junior officer called out in panic, "We've got a problem. The Zalorian sun, it's going nova." All eyes turned to the main view screen, where they watched in horror as the star that had nurtured Zalorian civilization for millennia began to collapse in on itself before exploding outward in a massive shockwave of superheated plasma and radiation. "This is impossible," Vexer chittered, his scientific mind reeling. "Our sun wasn't due to go nova for millions of years." Dr. Elena Volkov, who had been monitoring the star's behavior, spoke up. The gravitational stress from the rogue planet must have triggered a premature collapse. We didn't account for this level of stellar instability in our calculations. As the shockwave approached Hylora Prime, threatening to obliterate the planet before they could complete the wormhole jump, Samaro made a split-second decision that would challenge the laws of physics and the boundaries of both human and Zalorian technology. "We're going to ride the wave," she announced, her voice steady despite the audacity of her plan. "Vexer, divert all power to the planetary shields. Maya, tell any ships still in the system to jump to hyperspace immediately. We're going to use the force of the nova to propel us through the wormhole." As the team scrambled to implement Samara's desperate plan, tensions that had been simmering beneath the surface of human-Zalorian cooperation began to boil over. "This is madness," shouted Dr. Arjun Mehta, a prominent Earth physicist. "We're risking not just Hylora Prime, but potentially creating a cascade of wormhole collapses that could threaten multiple star systems, including our own." Vexer whirled on him, his normally placid demeanor cracking under the strain. "And what would you have us do? Watch as my people's entire history is vaporized. You humans claim to want to help, but when the moment of truth arrives, you falter." The control room erupted into chaos, with humans and Zalorians shouting over each other, years of cultural misunderstanding and the stress of their impossible mission finally coming to a head. It was Empress Silora who silenced them all, her voice cutting through the din with imperial authority. "Enough. We stand at the precipice of either our greatest triumph or our final moments. We cannot afford to be divided now." She turned to face both groups, her forearms spread wide in a gesture that encompassed all present. "Humans, you have shown us kindness and ingenuity beyond anything we could have hoped for. My people, you have displayed courage and adaptability in the face of unimaginable adversity. Together, we have already achieved the impossible. Let us see this through, united in purpose, if not in form." Her words seemed to reset the atmosphere in the control room. Humans and Zalorians looked at each other with newfound respect, nodding in silent agreement. Samira, who had been focused on her calculations throughout the argument, spoke up. "We have less than 5 minutes before the shockwave hits. It's now or never." With renewed determination, the team sprang into action. Vexer and Dr. Volkov worked in perfect sync, their earlier disagreements forgotten as they fine-tuned the planetary shields to withstand the nova's impact. Captain Maya coordinated with the remaining ships in the system, ensuring that as many Zalorians as possible were either evacuated or secured in protected bunkers. As the Nova's shockwave approached, bathing the control room viewscreens in an eerie, ever-brightening glow, Samara prepared to initiate the wormhole jump. The entire station vibrated with the immense energies being channeled. Wormhole stability at 64% and dropping, reported a technician, sweat beading on her forehead. Planetary shields at maximum capacity, Vexor added. They won't withstand more than a few seconds of the Nova's full force. Samara took a deep breath, her hand poised over the final activation switch. She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of humans and Zalorians alike. In that moment, species and origin didn't matter. They were united in their goal, in their hope, in their defiance against the uncaring forces of the universe that threatened to snuff out billions of lives. For Earth, for Xylora Prime, for the future, Samara said, and pressed the switch. Time seemed to slow as the wormhole flared to life, a swirling vortex of unimaginable power. Xylora Prime, its surface already cracking under the gravitational stresses, began to move towards the portal. The Nova's shockwave hit just as the planet reached the wormhole's event horizon. The control room erupted in a cacophony of alarms and shouted status reports. Viewscreens flickered and died as the electromagnetic pulse from the Nova overwhelmed their systems. The threat hung in the air like a physical presence. President Okafor, her voice steady despite the enormity of the situation, responded, "This is President Amara Okafor of Earth. We do not respond to threats. We are a peaceful people, but we will defend ourselves if necessary." Empress Zalora, who had joined the communication, added her voice. "The Zalorian Empire stands with Earth. We will not bow to intimidation." Grand Admiral Zixtar's tentacles writhed in what might have been amusement. "Your defiance is noted and futile. Prepare for conquest." The transmission cut off abruptly. In the tense silence that followed, Samara's mind raced. They had just saved Xylora Prime from destruction, and now both their worlds faced a threat potentially greater than a rogue planet or a dying star. Captain Maya Patel, who had been promoted to fleet commander following her role in the Xylora Prime rescue, spoke up. "We need to coordinate our defenses immediately. The Voidborn fleet will reach Earth in less than 72 hours. President Okafor nodded grimly. "Agreed. I'm declaring a global state of emergency. All of Earth's resources are at your disposal, Captain Patel." Empress Zalora's scales flickered with determination. "The Zalorian fleet may be diminished, but what remains is yours to command. We stand together." As the leaders began coordinating their forces, Samara pulled Vexor aside. "We need to think beyond conventional warfare," she said, her mind already formulating a plan. "The Voidborn's technology is likely far beyond our combined military might. But maybe, just maybe, we can use what we learned from moving Xylora Prime to our advantage." Vexor's compound eyes gleamed with understanding. "You're suggesting we weaponize the wormhole technology?" Samara nodded. "It's risky, but it might be our only chance. We need to get to work immediately." As Samira and Vexor dove into their calculations, the combined fleets of Earth and Xylora Prime mobilized. Ships that had once been adversaries now flew side by side, united against a common threat. Humans and Zalorians worked together, retrofitting vessels with hybrid technology that merged the best of both species' innovations. The next 72 hours were a blur of feverish activity. On Earth, civilians were evacuated to underground bunkers, while military installations around the globe prepared for the fight of their lives. On Xylora Prime, the planet's crystalline cities were fortified, their natural resonance harnessed to create planetary shields unlike anything seen before. As the Voidborn fleet entered the outskirts of the Sol system, humanity faced its first true extraterrestrial war. The space around Earth lit up with weapons fire as the Allied fleet engaged the invaders. Silurian crystal ships unleashed beams of concentrated energy, while Earth vessels deployed swarms of AI-guided drones. But despite their valiant efforts, the defenders were slowly being pushed back. The Voidborn's technology was simply too advanced. their numbers too great. In the midst of the chaos, Samara's voice cut through the command channels. "This is Dr. Petal. We're ready to deploy Operation Singularity. All Allied ships fall back to the designated coordinates immediately." As the human and Zalorian ships retreated, drawing the Voidborn fleet into position, Samara and Vexor initiated their desperate plan. Massive generators, hastily constructed using the principles that had saved Thylora Prime, roared to life. Space itself seemed to warp and twist as multiple wormholes sprang into existence around the Voidborn fleet. But unlike the stable portals used to transport Thylora Prime, these were intentionally unstable, creating a maelstrom of gravitational forces. Grand Admiral Zixktar, realizing too late the trap they had fallen into, bellowed orders to retreat, but it was futile. Ship after ship was torn apart by the conflicting gravitational fields or sucked into miniature black holes that winked in and out of existence. For several heart-stopping minutes, the space around Earth was a kaleidoscope of destruction as the Voidborn fleet was systematically dismantled. When it was over, only a handful of enemy ships remained, rapidly fleeing the system. As the dust settled and the Allied fleet regrouped, a cheer went up across every communication channel. Against all odds, humanity and their Zalorian allies had emerged victorious. In the aftermath of the battle, as the cleanup began and the true cost of the conflict was tallied, Samara stood with Empress Zalora and President Okafor, gazing out at the stars from the observation deck of the Interspecies Cooperation Center. "We've won a great victory today," President Okafor said sullenly, "but this is just the beginning. The galaxy now knows we're here, and not everyone out there will be friendly." Empress Zalora nodded, her scales shimmering with a mix of emotions. "Indeed, but we've shown what we can achieve when we stand together. Perhaps this is the true purpose of our people's meeting, to forge an alliance that can stand against any threat." Samara, her mind already racing with new ideas and possibilities, smiled. "We've taken our first steps into a larger universe. It's going to be dangerous, yes, but also filled with wonders we can scarcely imagine, and we'll face it all together." As they looked out at the vast expanse of space, the future stretched before them, full of challenges and opportunities. The battle for Thylora Prime was over, but humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning our new era of interstellar cooperation. In the years following the battle for Thylora Prime, humanity and the Zalorians found themselves at the forefront of a rapidly changing galactic landscape. The defeat of the Voidborn Imperium had sent shockwaves throughout known space, alerting countless civilizations to the existence of a new, formidable alliance in the cosmic neighborhood. Dr. Samara Petal, now serving as the head of the newly formed Interstellar Scientific Cooperative, stood before a diverse assembly of beings from across the galaxy. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council, once the exclusive domain of ancient spacefaring races, now buzzed with an energy it hadn't seen in millennia. "Distinguished representatives," Samara began, her voice carrying across the chamber. 10 years ago, our worlds faced extinction and invasion. Today, we stand here not just as survivors, but as innovators and peacekeepers." She gestured to the holographic display behind her, showcasing the fruits of human-Zalorian cooperation. Cities that blended Earth's architectural styles with Thylora Prime's crystalline aesthetics, starships that incorporated technologies from both worlds, and scientific breakthroughs that pushed the boundaries of known physics. "The wormhole network we've established has opened up new avenues for trade, cultural exchange, and mutual defense," Samara continued. "But more importantly, it has shown us that the greatest advances come not through conquest or isolation, but through collaboration and understanding." As Samara spoke, she couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought them to this point. The integration of human and Zalorian societies hadn't been without its challenges. Cultural misunderstandings, biological incompatibilities, and lingering fears from both sides had all threatened to derail their alliance at various points. She remembered the first human-Zalorian cultural festival on Earth, where a well-meaning Zalorian chef had accidentally poisoned several human attendees with a traditional delicacy. The incident had nearly sparked a diplomatic crisis until a quick-thinking human chef turned it into a cooking competition, challenging both species to create safe, delicious fusion cuisines. There had been triumphs as well. The development of universal translators that could not only convey words but also cultural context had revolutionized interspecies communication. The first successful human Zalorian medical procedures had paved the way for breakthroughs in xenobiology that benefited countless species. As Samara concluded her address, Grand Arbiter 6, the Kuyulian who had once doubted humanity's potential, rose to speak. Dr. Petal, when your species first came to our attention, many of us dismissed you as primitive and unpredictable. We could not have been more wrong. Humanity, in partnership with the Zalorians, has demonstrated a capacity for growth, adaptation, and compassion that serves as an example to us all. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of approval, expressed in myriad alien ways. Samara felt a surge of pride, not just for her own species, but for the incredible journey they had embarked upon with their Zalorian allies. As the session adjourned, Samara found herself approached by a group of young beings, humans, Zalorians, and several other species she was still learning to identify. They were students in the first class of the Interstellar Academy, a joint educational initiative aimed at fostering the next generation of cosmic diplomats and scientists. Dr. Petal, one of the students, a young Volux whose gaseous form shimmered with excitement, asked, "What do you think the future holds for our alliance? Where do we go from here?" Samara smiled, considering the question carefully. "The future is never certain," she began, "but I believe we've laid a foundation for something truly remarkable. We've proven that diversity is not a weakness, but our greatest strength. Each of us brings unique perspectives and abilities to the table, and together, we can achieve things that none of us could accomplish alone." She gestured towards the great viewing window that dominated one wall of the chamber, showcasing the glittering expanse of the galaxy. Out there are countless worlds, civilizations we haven't even dreamed of yet. Some may be friendly, others hostile, but the principles that have brought us this far, curiosity, compassion, and cooperation, will serve us well no matter what we encounter. As the students listened intently, Samara felt a familiar presence at her side. Empress Zalora, her scales shimmering with a soft, contented glow, joined the conversation. "Indeed, Dr. Petal, and let us not forget the importance of humility. Our alliance was born from a moment of desperate need, a recognition that we could not face the challenges of the universe alone. It is a lesson we must carry with us always." The Empress turned to the students, her four arms moving in a gesture that encompassed them all. "You, the next generation, will face challenges we cannot even imagine. But you will also have opportunities beyond our wildest dreams. Learn from each other, support one another, and never stop reaching for the stars." As Samira and Zalora continued to engage with the eager young minds, discussing everything from advances in wormhole physics to the finer points of interspecies etiquette, Samara felt a profound sense of hope for the future. The journey that had begun with a desperate plea for help had transformed into something far greater than anyone could have anticipated. Humanity and the Zalorians, once strangers separated by vast gulfs of space and culture, had become the cornerstone of a new galactic community. As the Interstellar Academy students departed, buzzing with excitement and ideas, Samira and Zalora found themselves alone, gazing out at the star-filled vista before them. "We've come so far," Samira mused, "and yet, in many ways, we're still at the beginning." Zalora nodded, her bioluminescence pulsing gently. "Indeed, but whatever challenges await us out there, whatever wonders we have yet to discover, we will face them as we have faced everything else, together." As they stood there, a human and a Zalorian united in friendship and common purpose, the vast galaxy spread out before them, full of infinite possibilities. The era of isolation was over. A new age of interstellar cooperation had begun, and with it the promise of a brighter future for all.